If Donald Trump wanted an excuse to send National Guard troops to Chicago, well, he's got it. Hey everyone, I'm Rich Lowry of National Review. Now, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker and Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson hate the idea of the National Guard being deployed to the Windy City, but they haven't been willing to do the one thing necessary to keep that from happening, which is to convince residents of Chicago to let federal agents do their jobs. The message should have gone out loud and clear long ago. Don't riot outside ICE facilities. Don't ram ICE vehicles with your cars. Don't prevent ICE agents from making legitimate arrests. Don't run these convoys of cars after ICE vehicles seeking to obstruct their operation. Don't, in short, act as though the Gestapo has descended on your city and the only means to resist is either civil disobedience or violence. But Pritzker and Johnson are so convinced that ICE is inherently out of bounds that they have played into this idea that something terrible has been done to the city of Chicago. Listen to Brandon Johnson.
The President of the United States of America has declared war on the people of Chicago and people across America.
Yeah, as if detaining people who have no right to work or live here is a hostile act against U.S. citizens. Then there's J.B. Pritzker.
They are the ones that are making it a war zone. They need to get out of Chicago. If they're not going to focus on the worst of the worst, which is what the president said they were going to do, they need to get the heck out.
The resistance to ICE in Chicago shows that, in effect, we have created enclaves in this country that, as far as their political leaders and a significant element of their population are concerned, are supposed to be no-go zones for federal immigration enforcement. We have taken what should have been the exception, the defiance of federal immigration law, and made it the norm such that any disturbance of it is considered intolerable. And that's how you get scenes like this. Is how you get scenes like this. Convoys of cars following and harassing ICE vehicles. And is how you get scenes like this. ICE agents trying to detain a man who resists. Then a crowd begins to form, and the ICE agents, for fear of their own safety and a disturbance, just have to turn tail and run.
Let him go!
All of this is wrong and illegal. On top of any other crimes being committed, 18 U.S. Code Section 111 makes it a crime to impede federal officers in the course of carrying out their duties. But elected officials in Illinois and Chicago won't admit what's going on the ground. They won't admit that they have a violence problem. The other day, ICE vehicles were rammed by two cars and shot one of the drivers in self-defense. And what did Senator Tammy Duckworth say about this when she was asked on a Sunday show? Take a look.
They lie, right? The Trump administration lies. We have a president who's a known liar, and they have been lying about the situation all along.
Nothing to see here. Couldn't possibly have happened. They lie. They lie all the time. They have no credibility talking about these matters, but it did happen. Here's a local news report on the subsequent court proceeding.
In court today, prosecutors described Miramar Martinez and Anthony Reese's actions as extremely dangerous and extremely reckless, saying the two had been following the Border Patrol agent's vehicle for 20 to 30 minutes before the alleged ramming took place Saturday morning, adding that the defendants weren't in the wrong place at the wrong time.
And here's the Chicago police superintendent, seems like a stand-up commonsensical guy, telling the people of Chicago not to do what Tammy Duckworth apparently believes didn't happen.
They are agents of law enforcement. If you box them in with vehicles, it is reasonable for them to believe that they are being ambushed and that this could end in a deadly situation. Do not box in any law enforcement officer. If you ram any vehicle, especially that one that contains law enforcement agents, and that's any law enforcement, local, state, federal, county, and you do this intentionally, this is considered deadly force. Deadly force is anything that can cause great bodily harm or death.
And what the left is doing is worse than just denying reality. They are affirmatively lying about what ICE is doing in Chicago. As a roadmap to these deceptions, let's consider a piece that MSNBC ran the other day. The piece was by a woman named Lillian Jimenez. She's a state rep in Illinois, titled, "Trump is trying to make an example out of Chicago. We won't stand for it." Subhead, "Trump is not only scapegoating our city, he's plotting to make the neighborhoods, working families, immigrants, and communities of color the staging grounds for authoritarian force." Then it goes on to say, "Chicago resists because it must. When Trump threatens to tear us apart, we come together. Through rapid response networks, neighborhood associations, congregations, and coalitions of workers and students, the Chicago I represent is not a testing ground for militarization. It is a proving ground for democracy." And then it makes various allegations that have been repeated widely in the media. Here's one. "In broad daylight, federal agents released multiple tear gas canisters into a crowd across the street from an elementary school." Sounds terrible, right? Well, take a look at a local TV news report about what really happened.
Meantime, tear gas spilling into Chicago neighborhoods. In Logan Square, residents say agents tossed canisters from an unmarked SUV near a grocery store and elementary school.
And just for no reason, he tear gases the whole crowd. There's a gentleman blocking their vehicle with a scooter, and he wasn't moving, so then the ICE agent just rolled down the window and threw the tear gas.
This video shows agents using batons on the scooter as gas filled the air.
The scooter wasn't moving, and they felt the need to tear gas us for some reason.
That's an incredibly slanted news report, by the way, but even it can't obscure what was really happening. ICE wasn't randomly spewing tear gas from its car to try to tear gas kids in elementary school. No, this ICE vehicle was just trying to get an obstruction out of its way. A guy in a motorbike deliberately blocked their way on the road. And who knows what's going to happen next? So they want to get him out of the way so they can just lawfully continue down the road. He had no right to impede them in that manner. They toss a tear gas canister to try to convince him to move. When he doesn't move, they take a more aggressive tack, leave the vehicle, and baton not the guy in the motorbike. They baton the back of the bike a couple times to finally convince him to stop doing what he shouldn't have been doing in the first place, which is going out of his way to impede an ICE vehicle. Then there's this other example from that MSNBC piece. In a second instance, the author writes, "As a local TV station reported, agents released tear gas outside an emergency room in my community." Okay, sounds terrible. Let's take a look at a local news report about this one.
Chaos unfolds during a shift change of agent before video apparently shows a federal officer deploying tear gas at a crowd outside Humboldt Park Hospital Friday evening.
So what's going on there? Clearly a disturbance. The lesson here is don't create a disturbance around ICE officers and ICE operations, and there won't be any tear gas. But wait, there's supposedly yet another outrage. Take a look at this one. Here's our MSNBC piece saying Alderwoman Jessie Fuentes, our city council representative, posted a video being handcuffed by ICE briefly after she questioned agents at that medical facility. And here's the aforementioned video.
He has constitutional rights. Do you have a sign?
No,
Do
you need to
show
leave.
warrant for him?
Turn around. You're turn around and leave.
He is under.
I'm going to
he is
arrest
under
you if you do
arrest.
not leave.
You are going to be placed under arrest. Turn around.
Do you have a sign?
You
Do
need
you
to
show
leave.
warrant for him?
Can somebody go in the hallway and get
Do
Lisa
you
for
have
me,
a
please?
sign? Judicial warrant for him.
Again, the video is very telling. She's asked politely, but yes, firmly, to leave, and she won't. She refuses. Then she's briefly cuffed and removed from the premises. By the way, she was nattering on about nonsense about signed judicial warrants. You don't need a signed judicial warrant to make an immigration arrest. What we're talking about with regard to civil immigration enforcement is largely administrative warrants. But be that as it may, add all this up, and Chicago has given the President of the United States a legitimate, fully legal justification for deploying National Guard troops to Chicago. A 1971 Office of Legal Counsel opinion said that the President of the United States has the inherent authority to protect federal property and operations, and 10 U.S. Code Section 12406 says the President of the United States can mobilize the Guard when he can't enforce the law with regular forces. Now look, in a better world, everyone would agree that federal immigration laws should be enforced. And big cities with major crime problems would affirmatively seek federal assistance, and that assistance would be offered by the feds in a cooperative spirit. But that's not the world we live in. Federal immigration enforcement is under attack in the city of Chicago and other jurisdictions around the country, and the federal government is determined to vindicate it. I'm Rich Lowry, over and out.